Act 1 prologue, enter chorus. Oh, for a muse of fire that would ascend the brightest heaven of invention, a kingdom for a stage, princes to act, and monarchs to behold the swelling scene. Then should the warlike Harry, like himself, assume the port of Mars, and at his heels, leashed like hounds, should famine, sword, and fire crouch for employment. But, pardon, gentles all, the flat, unraised spirits that have dared on this unworthy scaffold to bring forth so great an object. Can this cockpit hold the vasty fields of France? Or maybe cram within this wooden O the very casks that did affright the air it has in court? Oh, pardon. Since a crooked figure may attest in little place a million, and let us ciphers to this great account on your imaginary forces work. Suppose within the girdle of these walls are now confined two mighty monarchies, whose high, abreast, and abutting fronts the perilous narrow ocean parts asunder. Piece out our imperfections with your thoughts into 1,000 parts, divide one man, and make imaginary puissance, armies. Think when we talk of horses that you see them, printing their proud hooves in the reserving earth, for 'tis your thoughts that now must deck our kings. Carry them here and there, jumping o'er times, turning the accomplishment of many years into an hourglass. For the which supply, admit me, chorus, to this history, who, prologue like, your gentlemen pray, gently to hear, kindly to judge our play.
Yay!
We're skipping scene 1, and we're going to scene 2. Scene 2, the same, the presence chamber, enter King Henry V, Gloucester, Bedford, Exeter, Warwick, Westmoreland, and attendants. Where is my gracious Lord of Canterbury?
Not here in present.
Then for him, good uncle.
Shall we call his ambassador, my liege?
Not yet, my cousin. We would be resolved before we hear him, but some things await. A task of thoughts concerning us and France.
God and his angels guard your sacred throne and make you long become it.
Sure, we thank you, my learned lord. We pray you to proceed and justly and religiously unfold why the law so leak that they have in France, or should not, bar us in our claim. And God forbid, my dear and faithful Lord, that you should fashion, rest, or bow your reading, or nicely charge your understanding soul with opening titles, miscreant, whose right suits not in native colors with the truth. For God doth know how many now in health shall drop their blood in approbation of what your reverence shall incite us to. Therefore, take heed how you impugn our person, how you awake our sleeping sword of war. We charge you in the name of God, take heed, for never two such kingdoms did contend without much fall of blood, whose guiltless drops are every one a woe, a sore complaint against him whose wrong gives edge unto the swords that make such waste in brief mortality under this conjuration. Speak, my lord, for we will hear, note, and believe in heart what you speak is in your conscience washed, as pure as sin with baptism.
Well, the Archbishop has this long speech about the Salic law and all of the connections that King Henry has to. Then he says,
May I with right and conscience make this claim?
He said, yes, sir. bishops, awake at a remembrance of these valiant dead, and with your puissant arm renew their feats. You are their heir. You sit upon their throne. The blood and courage that renowned in them runs in your veins, and my thrice puissant liege is in the very May morn of his youth, and ripe for exploits and mighty enterprises. The brother kings and monarchs of the earth do all expect that you should rouse yourself, as did the former lions of your blood. They know your grace hath cause and means and might, so hath your highness. Never king of England has nobles richer and more subjects, and those heard have left their bodies here in England. Bring into any of your ancestors.
We must not only arm to invade the French, but lay down our proportions to defend against the Scot, who will make road upon us with all advantages.
They are those marchers, gracious sovereign, which be a wall sufficient to defend our inland from the pilfering plunderers.
We do not mean the coursing snatchers only, but fear the main intendment of the Scot, who hath been still a giddy neighbor to us. For you shall read that my great-grandfather never went with his forces into France, but that the Scot on his unfurnished kingdom came pouring, like the tide into a breach, with ample and brim fullness of his force, galling the gleaned land with hot assays, girding with grievous siege castles and towns, that England, being empty of defense, hath shook and trembled at the ill neighborhood.
Well, we're scaring everybody with all these speeches. So let's go all the way down to the ambassador of France attendant. Now we are well prepared to know the pleasure.
May it please your majesty to give us leave freely to render what we have in charge, or shall we sparingly show you far off the Dauphin's meaning and our embassy?
We are no tyrant, but a Christian king, to whose grace our passion is as subject as our wretches fettered in our prisons. Therefore, with frank and uncurbed plainness, tell us the Dauphin's mind.
Thus, then, in few, your highness, lately sending into France, did claim some certain dukedoms in the right of your great predecessor, King Edward III. In answer of which claim, the prince, our master, says that you savor too much of your youth, and bids you be advised there's naught in France that can be with a nimble galliard won. You cannot revel into dukedoms there. He therefore sends you, meter for your spirit, this ton of treasure, and in lieu of this, desires you let the dukedoms that you claim hear no more of you. This the Dauphin speaks.
What treasure, uncle?
Tennis balls, my liege.
We are glad the Dauphin is so pleasant with us. His present and your pains we thank you for. When we have matched our rackets to these balls, we will in France, by God's grace, lay a set, shall strike his father's crown into the hazard. Tell him he hath made a match with such a wrangler that all the courts of France will be disturbed with chases. And we understand him well, how he comes o'er us with our wilder days, not measuring what use we made of them. We never valued this poor seat of England, and therefore, living hence, did give ourselves to barbarous license, as 'tis ever common that men are merriest when they are from home. But tell the Dauphin, I will keep my states, be like a king, and show my sail of greatness when I do rouse me in my throne of France. For that I have laid by my majesty and plotted like a man for working days. But I will rise there with so full of glory that I will dazzle all the eyes of France. Yea, strike the Dauphin blind to look on us, and tell the pleasant prince, this mock of his hath turned his balls to gunstones, and his soul shall stand sore charged for the wasteful vengeance that shall fly with them. For many a thousand widows shall this his mock out their dear husband, mock mothers from their sons, mock castles down, and some are yet ungotten and unborn, that shall have cause to curse the Dauphin's scorn. But these lies all within the will of God, to whom I do appeal, and in whose name tell you the Dauphin, I am coming on, to venge me as I may, and to put forth my rightful hand in a well-hallowed cause. So get you hence in peace, and tell the Dauphin, his jest will savor but of shallow wit, when thousands weep more than did laugh at it. Convey them with safe conduct. Fare you well.
This was a merry message.
Very message.
Merry.
We hope to make the sender blush at it. Therefore, my lords, omit no happy hour that may give furtherance to our expedition, for we have now no thought in us but France, save those to God that run before our business. Therefore, let our proportions for these wars be soon collected, and all things thought upon that may with reasonable swiftness add more feathers to our wings. For God before will chide this Dauphin at his father's door. Therefore, let every man now task his thought, that this fair action may be on foot be brought. Act 2, prologue, enter chorus.
Now all the youth of England are on fire, and silken dalliance in the wardrobe lies. Now thrive the armorers, and honor's thought reigns solely in the breast of every man. They sell the pasture now to buy the horse, following the miracle of all Christian kings, with winged heels as English Mercuries. For now sits expectation in the air, and hides a sword from hilts unto the point, with crowns imperial, crowns and coronets promised to Harry and his followers. The French, advised by the good intelligence of this dreadful preparation, shake in their fear and with pale policy seek to divert the English purposes. O England, model to thy inward greatness, like this little body with a mighty heart, what mayst thou do that honor with thee do? Were all thy children kind and natural, but see, thy fault in France hath in thee found out a nest of hollow bosoms, which he fills with treacherous crowns and 3 corrupted men. 1, Richard, Earl of Cambridge, and the 2nd, Henry, Lord Scroop of Masham, and the 3rd, Sir Thomas Grey, Knight of Northumberland, have for the guilt of France, oh, guilt indeed, confirmed conspiracy with the fearful France, and by their hands this grace of king must die, if hell and treason hold their promises, ere he takes ship to France and in Southampton. Linger your patience on, and will digest the abuse of a distance. Force of play. The sum is paid. The traitors are agreed. The king is set from London, and the scene is now transported, gentles, to Southampton. There is the playhouse now. There you must sit, and thence to France shall we convey you safe and bring you back, charming the narrow seas to give you gentle pass. For, if we may, will not offend one stomach with our play. But till the king come forth, and not till then, unto Southampton do we shift our scene.
Well met, Corporal Nim.
Good morrow, Lieutenant Bardolph.
What, our ancient pistol? And you friends yet?
For my part, I care not. I say little, but when time shall serve, there shall be smites, and but that it should be as it may. I dare not fight, but I will wink and not hold mine iron. It is a simple one, but what though? I will toast cheese, and it will endure cold as another man's word sword. And will, and there's the humor of it.
I will bestow a breakfast to make you friends, and will be all three sworn brothers to France. So let it be so, good Corporal Nim.
Faith, I will live so long as I may, and that's the certain of it. And when I cannot live any longer, I will do as I may, and that is my rest. That is the rendezvous of it.
It is certain, Corporal, that he is married to Nell Quickly. And certainly she did you wrong, for you were both troth plight to her.
Well, I cannot tell. Things must be as they may. Men may sleep, but they may have their throats about them at that time. And some say knives have edges, and must be as it may. Though patience be a tired mare, yet she will plod. There must be conclusions. Well, I cannot tell.
Here comes Ancient Pistol and his wife, good Corporal. Be patient here.
Oh.
Face tight. Now, post thou me host. Now, by this head, I swear, I scorn the term, nor shall my Nell keep lodges.
No, by my troth, not law. For we cannot lodge and board a dozen or 14 gentlewomen that live honestly by the prick of their needles, that it will be thought we keep a bawdy house straight. Oh, well a day, lady. If he be not here now, we shall see willful adultery and murder committed.
Good Lieutenant, good Corporal, offer nothing here.
Pish! Pish for thee, Iceland dog, thou prick-eared cur of Iceland.
Good Corporal Nick, show thy valor and put up your sword.
Well, you shall not. I won't have you, Solus.
Solus, inglorious dog. Oh, viper vile, thou Solus in the most marvelous face. The Solus in thy teeth and in thy throat, and in thy hateful lungs, yea, in thy maw, birdie, which is worse, within the nasty mouth. I do retort the Solus in thy bowels, for I can take, and pistols conkies up, and a flushing fire will follow.
I am not Barbazon. You cannot conjure me. I have a humor to knock you indifferently well. If you grow foul with me, pistol, I will scour you with my rapier, and as I may, to fair terms, if you should walk off, I would prick your guts a little. In good terms, as I may, that's the humor out of it.
Oh, braggart foul and damned furious boy. Thou grave doth gape, and doting death is near. Therefore, exhale.
Hear me what I say. He that strikes the first stroke, I'll run him up to the hilts, as I am a soldier.
An oath of mickle might and fury shall abate. Give me thy fist, thy 4 foot to give me to me give. Thy spirits are most tall.
I will cut thy throat that one time or other in fair terms, and that's the humor of it.
Oh, Kubla Gors, that is the word. I defy thee again, O hound of Crete. Thou thinkest thou my spouse to get. Now, to the spittle go, and from the powdering tub of infamy, set forth the laser kite of Cressid's kite. Dog tear sheet, she by name, and her espouse. I have, and will hold on the corner daily, quickly, for the only she and horse car, that's There's enough. Go to.
My trust pistol, you must come to my master and your hostess. He is very sick and would to bed. Good Bardo, put thy face between his sheets and do the office of a warming pan. He's ill.
Away, you rogue.
By my troth, he'll yield a crow of pudding one of these days. The king has killed his heart. Good husband, come home presently.
Calm, I shall make you two friends. We must to France together. What the devil should we keep knives to cut one another's throats?
Oh, let blood all swell and beans for the food. Howl on.
You'll pay me the 8 shillings I won of you that's betting?
Base is a slave that pays.
That now I will have. That's the humor of it.
As man who shall compound. Push home.
By this sword, he that makes the first thrust, I'll kill him. By this sword, I will.
Sword is an oath, and oaths must have their course.
Corporal, then, and thou wilt be friends. Be friends, and thou wilt not. Why then, be enemies with me too. Prithee, put up.
I shall have my 8 shillings. I was of you. I won of you.
Stop.
Betting.
A noble shalt thou have, and precious pay, and liquor likewise will I give to thee, and friendship shall combine, and brotherhood. I'll live by Nim, and Nim shall live by me. Is this not just? For I shall be sutler. I shall sutler be unto the camp, and profits will accrue. Give me thy hand.
I shall have my noble.
In cash is mostly paid.
Well then, that's the humor of it.
As ever you come of women, coming quickly to Sir John. Ah, poor heart, he is so shaked of a burning quotidentarian chin. It is most lamentable to behold. Sweet men, come to him.
Oh, the king hath run bad humors on the night, and that's the humor of it.
Nim, thou hast spoken right. His heart is fracted and corroborate.
Ah, the king is a good king, but it must be as it may. He passes some humors and others.
Well, let us condole the nightfall, lambkins. We will live.
Scene 2, Southampton, a council chamber.
And we'll skip that
We're skipping it.
and go on to scene 3.
Wow, that's a lot of.
Yeah, wow. Thank you.
Scene 3, London, before a tavern. Enter pistol, hostess Nim, Bardolph and boy.
Yeah.
Prithee, honey, sweet husband, let me bring thee to Staines.
No, for my manly heart doth earn. Bardolph, be blithe. Nim, rouse thy vaulting veins. A boy, bristle thy courage up. For Falstaff is dead, and we must earn therefore.
If I were with him, wheresoever he is, either in heaven or in hell.
Nay, sure, he's not in hell. He's in Arthur's bosom, if ever men went to Arthur's bosom. He made a finer end, and went away, and it had been any Christum child. He parted even just between 12 and 1, even at the turning of the tide. For after I saw him fumble with the sheets and play with flowers, smile upon his finger's end, I knew there was but one way. For his nose was as sharp as a pen. He told the green fields. How now, Sir John, quoth I, what man be of good cheer? So he cried out, God, 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 3 or 4 times. Now I to comfort him, bid him he should not think of God. I hoped there was no need to trouble himself with such thoughts yet. So he bade me lay more clothes on his feet. I put my hand onto the bed and felt them, and they were as cold as any stone. But I felt to his knees, and so upward, and all was as cold as any stone.
They say he cried out of sack.
Aye, that he did.
And of women.
Nay, he did not. Yes, he did, and said they were devils incarnate. I could never abide carnation. 'Twas a color he never liked. He said once the devil would have him about women. He did in some sort, indeed, handle women, but then he was rheumatic and talked of the whore of Babylon. Did you not remember he saw a flea stick upon Bardolph's nose? And he said it was a black soul burning in hell?
Ah,
Well, the fuel is gone that maintained that fire. That's all the riches I got in his service.
till we shog. The king will be as gone from Southampton.
Well, come, let's away. My love, give me thy lips. Look to my chattels and my movables. Let senses rule. The word is pitch and pay. Trust none for oaths or straws. Men faiths are wafer cakes. And Holdfast is the only dog, my duck. Therefore, Capito be thy counselor. Go, clear thy crystals, yoke fellows in arms, and let us to France, like horse leeches, my boys, to suck, the very blood to suck.
And that's but unwholesome food, they say.
Come to a soft mouth and march.
Farewell, hostess.
I cannot kiss. 'Tis the humor of it. Oh do.
Will let housewifery appear. Keep close, I thee command.
Farewell, adieu.
Scene 4, France, the king's palace. I'm not so skippy.
Oh no!
I have a question. Is the Dauphin from France?
Give him
The
The
Dauphin
song-
is French.
Yes, the dolphin is
Okay.
French. Dolphin is
Thank you.
Italian. Oh God, yeah,
Got
we're going full kittens here.
Oh, good. I love it.
the right size. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Different.
Where did you
It's
get this?
adjustable.
Where'd you get this?
It's got to be Burger
It's,
King.
it's not,
Is this Burger King? It's Velcro.
it's adjustable.
Un momento, por favor. All right.
I thought you were French,
I thought that was French.
but you're talking por favor.
Por
There you
favor.
go.
Por
Yeah,
favor is French, isn't it?
Give it to the
S'il vous
king.
plaît.
S'il vous plaît. Thus comes the English with full pop on us, and more within Catholic it us concerns. To answer royally and of defenses, therefore the Dukes of Berry and of Britain and of Brabant and of Orleans shall make forth, and you, Prince Dauphin, with all swift dispatch, to line the new repairs of our town war with men and courage, and with means defendant. For France is approaches makes as fierce as waters of the sucking of our gulf. It fits us then to be as provident as fear they may teach us, out of late examples left by the fatal and neglected English upon our fields.
My most redoubted father, it is most meet we arm us against the foe. For peace itself should not so dull a kingdom. As our war were no known quarrel were in question, but that defenses, musters, preparations should be maintained, assembled, and collected as were a war in expectation. Therefore, I say, 'tis meet we all go forth to view the sick and feeble parts of France, and let us do it with no show of fear. No, there's no more than if we heard that England were busy with a Whitsun Moorish dance. For, my good liege, she is so idly kinged, her sceptre so fantastically borne, by a vain, giddy, shallow, humorous youth that fear attends her not.
Oh, peace, Prince Dauphin. You are too much mistaken in this king. Question your grace the late ambassadors. With what great state he heard their embassy, how well supplied with noble counselors, how modest in exception, and withal how terrible in constant resolution. And you shall find his vanities forspent were but the outside of the Roman Brutus, covering discretion with a coat of folly, as gardeners do with ordure hide those roots that shall first spring and be most delicate.
Well, 'tis not so, my lord high constable, but though we think it so, it is no matter. In cases of defense, 'tis best to weigh the enemy more mighty than he seems. So the proportions of defense are filled, which of a weak or niggardly projection does, like a miser, spoil his coat with scanting, a little cloth.
We think we, King Harry, strong, and princes, look you strongly armed to meet him. The kindred of him hath been fleshed upon us, and he is bred out of that bloody stain that haunted us in our familiar paths. Witness to our much memorable shame, when Cressy battle fatally was struck, and all our princes captivated by the hand of that black named Edward, Black Prince of Wales, whilst that his mountain sire on mountain standing up in the air, crowned with the golden sun, saw his heroical seed and smiled to see him mangle the work of nature and deface the patterns that by God and by French fathers had 20 years been made. This is the stem of that vicious, victorious stock, and let us fear the native mightiness of the fate of him.
Ambassadors from Harry, King of England, do crave admittance to your majesty.
Well, give them present audience, go and bring them. You see his chase is hotly followed, friends.
Turn head and stop pursuit, for coward dogs must spend their mouth when what they seem to threaten runs far before them. Good my sovereign, take up the English short, and let them know of what a monarchy you are the head. Self-love, my liege, is not so vile a sin as self-neglecting.
From our brother England,
From him, and with his grace to your majesty, he wills you in the name of God Almighty that you divest yourself and lay apart the borrowed glories that by gift of heaven, by law of nature and of nations, kings to him and to his heirs, namely the crown and all wide-stretched honors that pertain by custom and by ordinance of times upon the crown of France, that you may know 'tis no sinister nor no awkward claim picked from the warm holes of long vanished days, nor from the dust of old oblivion raked. He sends you this most admirable line, in every branch truly demonstrative, willing you overlook this pedigree, and when you find him evenly derived, and from his most fame of famous ancestors, Edward III, he bids you then resign your crown and kingdom, indirectly held from him, the native and true challenger.
or what else follows?
Bloody constraint. And if you hide the crown, even in your hearts, there will be wake for it. Therefore, in fierce tempest is he coming, in thunder and in earthquake like Job. And he that requires all, he will compel and bids you at the bowels of the Lord deliver up the crown and to take mercy on the poor souls for whom their hungry war opens his vasty laws. And in your hand and in your head turns he the widow's tears, the orphan's cries, the dead men's blood, the pining maiden's groans. And for husbands, fathers, and betrothed lovers, there shall be swallowed in the controversy. And this is his claim, this threatening, this my message, And unless the Dauphin be in presence here, to whom expressly I bring greeting too.
For us, we will consider this further. Tomorrow you shall bear our four intent back to our brother England.
For the Dauphin, I stand here for him. What to him from England?
Scorn and defiance, slight regard, contempt, and anything that may not become the mighty sender. And though he prize you at this, says my king, and if your father's highness do not, in great of all demands at large, bittersweet and bitter mock you sent his majesty, why he'll call you so hot, and answer of it, and the caves and wombly bandages of France shall chide your trespass and return your mock in second accent of his inordinate.
Say, if my father render fair return, it is against my will. For I desire nothing but odds with England. To that end, as matching to his youth and vanity, I did present him with the Paris balls.
He'll make your Paris Louvre shake for it. And we're all the mistress court of all mighty Europe. And be assured, you'll find a difference. And we, his subjects, you'll have in wonder found between the promise of his greener days and these he masters now. Now he weighs time even into the utmost grain that you shall read your own losses if he stay in France.
Tomorrow you shall know our mind at full.
Dispatch with us all speed, and lest our king come here himself to question our delay, for he is footed in this land already.
You shall soon dispatch with fair conditions. At night is but small breath and little pause to answer matters of this consequence.
Act 3, prologue into the chorus.
Thus, with imagined wing, our swift scene flies in motion, no less celerity than that of thought. Suppose that you have seen the well-appointed king at Hampton here embark his royalty, and his brave fleet, the silken streamers, the young Phoebus fanning, play with your fancies, and in them behold upon the hempen tackle ship boys climbing. Hear the shrill whistle, which doth order give to sounds confused. Behold the threatened sails, borne with the invisible and creeping wind, draw the huge bottoms through the furrowed sea, breasting the lofty surge. Oh, but do think you stand upon the rivage and behold the city of the inconstant billows dancing, for so appears this fleet majestical, holding due course to Harfleur. Follow, follow! Grapple your minds to sternage of this navy, and leave your England as dead as midnight still, guarded with grandsires, babies, and old women, either past or not arrived to pith and puissance. For who is he whose chin is but enriched with one appearing hair that will not follow those sculled and choice-drawn cavaliers to France? Work your thoughts, and therein see a siege. Behold the ordnance on their carriages, with fatal mouths gaping on girded Harfleur. Suppose the ambassador from France comes back, tells Harry that the king doth offer him Catherine, his daughter, and with her to dowry some petty and unprofitable dukedoms. The offer likes not, and the nimble gunner with Lancelot's now devilish cannon touches. And down goes all before them. Still, be kind and eke out our performance with your mind.
Scene 1, France, before Harfleur. Blustering soldiers with scaling ladders. Once more into the breach, dear friend, once more close up the wall when our English dead. In peace there's nothing so becomes a man as modest stillness and humility. But when the blast of war blows in our ears, then imitate the action of the tiger. Stiffen the sinews and summon up the blood. Disguise fair nature with hard-favored rage. Then lend the eye a terrible aspect. Let's pry through the portage of the head. Pry through the portage of the head like the brass cannon. Let the brow overwhelm it as fearfully as doth a gallant rock, or hang and jutty his confounded base, swilled with the wild and wasteful ocean. Now, set the teeth and stretch the nostril wide. Hold hard the breath and bend up every spirit to his full height. On, you noblest English, whose blood is fed from fathers of war proof. Fathers that, like so many Alexanders, have in these parts from morn till even fought and sheathed their swords for lack of argument. Dishonor not your mothers. Now attest that those whom you called fathers did beget you. Be copy now to men of grosser blood, and teach them how to war. And you, good yeomen, whose limbs were made in England, show us here the mettle of your pasture. Let us swear that you are worth your breeding, which I doubt not. For there is none of you so mean and base that hath not noble luster in your eyes. I see you stand like greyhounds in the slips, straining upon the start. The game's afoot. Follow your spirit, and upon this charge cry, God for Harry, England, and St. John!
Hey, good show.
And we take it. Great. Snack time.
What are you having, Mason?
We've seen 3.
Scene 3.
Okay.
The same before the gates. The governor and some citizens on the walls, the English forces below. Enter King Henry and his train. Oh, yet resolves the governor of the town. This is the latest parley we will admit, therefore, to our best mercy give yourselves, or like to men proud of destruction, defy us to your worst, to our worst. For as I am a soldier, a name that in my thoughts becomes me best. I'm sorry. I've just been snacking. If I begin the battery once again, I will not leave the half-achieved Harfleur, till in her ashes she lie buried. The gates of mercy shall all be shut up, and the fleshed soldier, rough and hard of heart, in liberty of bloody hand shall range with conscience wide as hell, knowing like grass your fresh fair virgins and your flowering infants. What is it then to me, if impious war, arrayed in flames, like to the prince of fiends, do with his smirched complexion all fell feet, and linked to waste and distillation? What is it to me when you yourselves are cause, your pure maidens fall into the hand of hot and forcing violation? What reign can hold licentious wickedness when down the hill he holds his fierce career? We may as bootless spend our vain command upon the enraged soldiers and their spoil as send precepts to the Leviathan to come ashore. Therefore, you men of Harfleur, take pity of your town and of your people. whilst yet my soldiers are in my command, whilst yet the cool and temperate wind of grace blows the filthy and contagious clouds of heedy murder, spoil, and villainy. If not, why, in a moment, look to see the blind and bloody soldier with foul hand defile the locks of your shrill, shrieking daughters, your fathers taken by the silver beards, and their most reverend heads dashed to the walls, your naked infants spitted upon pikes, whilst the mad mothers with their howls confused do break the clouds, as did the wives of Jewry at Herod's bloody hunting with slaughtermen. What say you? Will you yield and this avoid, or guilty in defense be thus destroyed?
Our expectation at this day and the Dauphin, whom of succor we entreated, returns us that his powers are yet not ready to raise so great a siege. Therefore, dread king, we yield our town and lives to thy soft mercy, and enter our gate, dispose of us and ours, for we are no longer defensible.
Open your gates. Come, Uncle Exeter, go you and enter Harfleur, there remain, and fortify it strongly against the French. Use mercy to them all. For us, dear uncle, winter coming on and sickness growing upon our soldiers, we will retire to Calais. Tonight in Harfleur we will be your guests. Tomorrow, for the march, we are addressed. Scene 4, the French king's palace. Enter Catherine and Alice. Oh.
Alice, tu as été en Angleterre et tu parles bien la langue.
Moment, madame.
Peter,
Yes.
vous êtes Alice. Oui.
Almost ready.
Aïe, aïe, aïe. Oh mon Dieu, qu'est-ce que c'est cette chose? Ok, encore. Voilà, Catherine. Alice, tu as été en Angleterre et tu parles bien la langue.
Madame.
Je te prie, mon Seigneur. Il faut que je prenne à parler. Comment appelez-vous la main en anglais?
La main, elle était appelée de hand.
The hand et les doigts.
Les doigts. Ma foi, j'ai oublié les doigts. Mais je ne me souviens pas des doigts. Je pense qu'ils sont appelés les fingers. Oui, les fingers.
La main, the hand. Les doigts, the finger. Je pense que je suis le bon écolier. J'ai gagné 2 mots d'anglais, vitement. Bon, comment appelez-vous les ongles?
Les ongles, nous les appelons the nails.
The nails?
Oui.
Écoutez, dites-moi, si je parle bien, the hand, the fingers et the nails.
Bien dit, madame. Ils font bon anglais.
Dites-moi, l'anglais, langue pour le bras
Des armes, madame.
et les coudes,
Des bouts.
des bouts. Je m'en fais la répétition de tous les mots que vous m'avez appris dès à présent. Ah,
Il est trop difficile, madame, comme je pense.
excusez-moi, Alice. Écoutez, the hand, the fingers, the nails, the arm, the bilbo.
Des elbows, madame.
Oh, Signor Dieu, je m'en oublié, the elbow. Ok. D'accord. Comment appelez-vous le cône?
De Nick, madame.
De Nick. Et le menton?
De Chine.
De Cygne. Le cône, le Nick, de menton de Cygne.
Oui, c'est votre annuel vérité. Vous prononcez le mot aussi, toi, qui est le natif dans la langue critère.
Ah, je ne doute point d'apprendre par la grâce de Dieu. Un peu de temps.
N'avez-vous partagé ou bien que vous est enseigné?
Non, 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 je citerai à vous promptement. The hand, the fingers, the miles.
The nails, madame.
The nails, the arm, the elbow.
Sur votre annuel, the elbow.
Ainsi dis-je, the elbow, the neck et the sin. Comment appelez-vous le pied et la robe?
Le foot, madame, et le compte.
The foot et les cônes? Seigneur Dieu, ce sont mots de son mauvais, correctable, gros et impudique, et non pour les dons d'honneur de user. Je ne voudrais prononcer ces mots devant le Seigneur de France pour tout le monde. Le foot et le cône. Dis-moi, je réciterai une autre fois ma leçon ensemble. The hand, the fingers, the nails, the arm, the elbow, the neck, the sin, the foot, the coon.
Excellente, madame.
C'est assez pour une fois. Allons-nous à dîner.
Scene 5, the same. Oh, right. Enter the King of France, the Dauphin, the Duke of Bourbon, the Constable of France, and others. But we're skipping, right? Right. We're skipping the King of France, the Constable. But wait.
6. English camp.
Okay, so it's scene 6, and halfway through scene 6, where King Henry comes in.
Henry, Gloucester.
Roman color. God bless the majesty. Oh, now, Llewellyn, camest thou from the bridge?
I am so pleased, your majesty, the Duke of Exeter has so gallantly maintained the bridge, and the French is going off. Look you, and there is a gallant and most brave passengers married. It is the adversary of the possession of the bridge, and he is forced to retire, and the Duke of Exeter is the master of the bridge. I can tell your majesty the Duke is a brave man.
What man have you lost, Llewellyn?
The perdition of the adversary has been very great, reasonably great. And Mary, for my part, I think the Duke has lost never a man, but one that is so to be executed for robbing a church. One Bardolph. Your Majesty know the man, his face is all babuchals and welts, knobs, flames of fire, and his lips, plows of his nose, and there's a coal of fire. Sometimes blue and sometimes red, but his face is executed and his fire is out.
We would have all such offenders so cut off. We give express charge that in our marches through the country, there be nothing compelled from the villages, nothing taken but paid for. None of the French upbraided or abused in disdainful language, or when lenity and cruelty play for the kingdom, the gentler gamester is the soonest winner.
You know me by my habit.
Well then, I know thee. What shall I know of thee?
My master's mind.
Unfold it.
Thus says my king. Say thou to Harry of England, though we seem dead, we did but sleep. Advantage is a better soldier than rashness. Tell him we could have rebuked him at Harfleur, but we thought not good to bruise an injury till it were full right. Now we speak upon our cue, and our voice is imperial. England shall repent his folly, see his weakness, and admire our suffering. Bid him therefore consider of his ransom, which must proportion the losses we have borne, the subjects we have lost, the disgrace we have digested, which in wait to re-answer his pettiness would bow under. For our losses, his exchequer is too poor. For the effusion of our blood, the muster of his kingdom too faint a number. And for our disgrace, his own person, kneeling at our feet, but a weak and worthless satisfaction. To this, add defiance, and tell him for conclusion he has betrayed his followers, whose condemnation is pronounced. So far, my king and master, so much my office.
What is thy name? I know thy quality.
Montjoy.
Dost thy office fairly. Turn thee back. Tell thy king I do not seek him now, but could be willing to march on Calais without impeachment. Or, to say the sooth, though 'tis no wisdom to confess so much unto an enemy, craft and vantage, my people are with sickness much enfeebled, my numbers lessened, those few I have almost no better than so many French, who, when they were in health, I tell thee, Harold, I thought upon one pair of English legs did march 3 Frenchmen, yet forgive me, God, that I do brag thus. This your heir of France hath blown that vice in me. I must repent. Go therefore, tell thy master I am here. My ransom is this frail and worthless trunk. My army is but weak and sickly guard, yet, God before, tell him we will come on. For France himself and such another neighbor stand in our way. As for thy labor, Montjoy, go bid thy master well advise himself. If we may pass, we will. If we be hindered, we shall your tawny ground with your red blood discolor. And so, Montjoy, fare you well. The sum of all our answer is but this: we would not seek a battle as we are, nor as we are, we say we will not shun it. So tell your master.
I shall deliver so. Thanks to your highness.
I hope they will not come upon us now.
You're in God's hand, brother, not in theirs. March to the bridge. It now draws toward night. Beyond the river we'll encamp ourselves, and on tomorrow, bid them march away. Scene 7, the French camp near Agincourt. We're skipping.
Act 4, we're skipping. Act 4.
So we're skipping to Act 4.
Yes.
And the prologue into the chorus.
In conjecture of a time when creeping murmur and the pouring dark fills the wide vessel of the universe, from camp to camp, through the foul womb of night, the hum of either army, stilly sounds. The fixed sentinels almost receive the secret whispers of each other's watch. Fire answers fire, and through their pallid flames, each battle sees the other's umbered face. Steed threatens steed in high and boastful neighs, piercing the night's dull ear, and from the tents the armorers accomplishing the nights with busy hammers closing rivets up, give dreadful note of preparation. The country cocks do crow, the clocks do toll, and the 3rd hour of drowsy morning name. Proud of their numbers and secure in soul, the confident and over-lusty French do the low-rated English play at dice, and chide the cripple, tardy-gated knight, who, like a foul and ugly witch, doth limp so tediously away. The poor condemned English, like sacrifices by their watchful fires, sit patiently and inly ruminate the morning's danger, and their gestures sad, investing lank lean cheeks and war-worn coats, presented them unto the gazing moon. So many horrid ghosts. Oh, now who will behold the royal captain of this ruined band, walking from watch to watch, from tent to tent? Let him cry, praise and glory on his head. For forth he goes and visits all his host, bids them good morrow with modest smile, and calls them brothers, friends, and countrymen. Upon his royal face there is no note how dread an army hath surrounded him, nor doth he would dedicate one jot of color unto the weary and all-watched night, but freshly looks and overbears the attaint with cheerful semblance and with sweet majesty, that every wretch, pining and pale before, beholding him, plucks comfort from his looks. A largess universal, like the sun, his liberal eye doth give to everyone, thawing cold fear, that mean and gentle all behold, as may unworthiness be find a little touch of Harry in the night. And so our scene must to the battle fly, where, oh, for pity, we shall much disgrace with 4 or 5 most vile and ragged foils, right ill-disposed in brawl ridiculous, the name of Agincourt. Is sit and see, mining true things by what their mockeries be.
Scene 1, the English camp at Agincourt. And to King Henry, Bedford and Gloucester.
You gotta go.
Go carefully.
Okay.